Welcome back to the shop. All right, today we are playing with a trailer. My neighbor has this utility trailer. Has seen better days. The coupler mechanism is pretty much shot. It's been beat on with a sledgehammer about 47 million times to try to get it off the hitches. He's tired of fooling with it, so we got this new hitch that I ordered, and it looks to be about the same deal. We also got a new jack because it was cheap, but this one still works, so I'll hang on to that for a spare. Doesn't have a foot on it, but so I started playing with this last night. I wasn't really gonna make a video of it, but I thought some of this might be helpful. Let me get over here. I've got this Hobart Air Force 250 plasma cutter that I've had this thing for probably 10 years or better. I've only used it a few times. I used it on a project cutting out some basically notching the framing area on the back of my 85 Camaro when I was trying to fit a 10-inch wide wheel on it. I had to cut a bunch of stuff out and box some stuff in, do some welding, and when I put the strange double over adjustables in the front, they weren't a direct bolt in. We had to cut some stuff out in the front and box that in as well. So that was years ago, but so that's why I bought that, and I haven't really used it since. To be honest with you, I just don't cut a lot of metal, but here lately I've been getting people asking me to weld things for them, and weld this on my trailer or fix this on my tractor or whatever. So I'm starting to get into that a little more, and I like it. My equipment is a little bit outdated and underpowered, so I've been learning a little bit on this. The plasma cutter deal doesn't work all that hot, and it really doesn't work if you're trying to cut across thick metal that is painted and that is rusty, and and if you don't have a good ground, you're not going to have a flow. So you've got to have electrical flow, and so you have to have a really strong ground. So I did grind off a little spot there. It probably could be a little better. I was trying to get my ground as close to my work as possible, and we had to take a grinder and grind a section off to get down to some bare metal to make the plasma cutter even work. I mean, it wasn't working. I've got a torch. I've got a acetylene torch. I can go down there and fire up. I can grab the cart, bring it out here and fire that up. But I was really wanting to try to get a grasp on this plasma cutter since I own it, and see if I can't make that work, which we ended up doing. You can see I cut a pretty decently clean line across there. We're going to do it on the other side. I'll try to film that a little bit and let you see what we've got to do. So I got to work on this tractor too for him. She's overheating a little bit when he runs the bush hog hot and heavy in the heat. And boy, let me tell you, that hurricane's coming up. We're going to get some rain from it here in just a little while, and the humidity is just unbelievable. I'm sweating already. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning. Should have got a way earlier start, but it didn't. I had to run and get some grinding wheels because mine were wore slap out. So I got a new fresh grinding wheel on it. I'm gonna run the grinder across through here and try to clean this metal up a little bit. I gotta get the wiring off or cut this neck off and weld that one on. If you haven't, please hit the subscribe button, stick around, check out other videos, give me a thumbs up, turn that little thumb blue, it helps me out. Leave me some comments, give me some feedback, check out my other videos, let me know what you think. We appreciate you watching and hanging around. Our thoughts and prayers go out for all those people further south and east, or further south and west from us, that are getting hammered by Hurricane Irene. I think that's the hurricane's name. I know Louisiana's getting pounded right now, or has been since yesterday, and we really feel for those folks that have probably already lost everything. Hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to those folks. All right. Okay, so we're working with a Hobart Air Force 250 today. I've had this thing a long time. I'm not a pro at plasma cutting or torching or any of that. This thing runs on 110, 115 cord. It's got an inboard compressor, so you don't have to hook shop air. These, from what I understand, plasma cutters are very sensitive on their air supply, so you have to have really good filtered air, but this has its own air. So I'm assuming it's filtered. I don't know for sure, but like I said, you just flip it on. It's got a little onboard compressor deal. You hook up your ground lead. You got your wand, and you can just go to cutting. I'm gonna grab a jacket and see how much I can sweat in one single day cutting a trailer hitch off. It's hot, man. It's humid, and I've already got my work boots on, my logging boots, and I've got my jeans on, and I'm about to put a welding jacket on in August. Humidity in Georgia, so wish me luck. Maybe I'll lose some weight during this process. Ground is everything on this, is what I've figured out. So cleaning the material where you're not trying to cut through paint, rust, and having a really good ground is going to help you cut. If you don't have those, it's not going to cut well. Not with this machine, at least. having trouble getting through some of this. Let's see if I can't grab a hammer and just knock it loose. Go. Probably leave these on. I think it's really hot. All right, so there you have it. When I first bought, I gotta grind all that out. I gotta get this surface back flat, clean. That way I can, I'll probably shoot some paint on this area. I remember thinking when I first bought this plasma cutter, I was very naive to the process. And I thought it was just gonna be like a magic wand. That's why I called it a magic wand earlier. You just point, click, and just cut a perfectly beautiful straight line. And a high-end plasma cutter, I'm sure will on clean metal. But this little deal right here, it will cut, but you got to work at it, and it's not the fastest. It's not the dirtiest. I think it's a little cleaner than the torch would have been if I'd have tried the torch. But it is what it is. I think I'm gonna weld up. I'm gonna weld this up too while I'm at it. Looks like it's been snatched a few times. Look how bent out that is. So I don't know if I think I'll just re-weld all that back together. Maybe stitch it up here a little bit. And I'll have to grind this surface down too to get out all the paint out, so I can burn a weld in real good. This grinder's cooled off. I let it sit for about 30-45 minutes. It's still hot. We're gonna get to grinding all this old weld off. Gotta have a good clean surface to weld to. one side down. We'll get that other side grinded out, and then we'll start seeing where we want to set that thing. Also, like I said, I'm going to grind all this out and weld all that up. I don't like that. Alright, got the welder out. Got it all, I grinded it, and then I used a flapper wheel. Clean it up a little bit more. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a little acetone, wipe it down. And I've knocked the paint off the new coupler. I got suited up, forgot to wipe it down with acetone. All right, I'm gonna grab some acetone real quick, just wipe it down, try to eliminate contaminations off the metals, especially metal that's old. And this being a pretty sensitive area, you don't want that weld to break. It needed to be clean and to penetrate really well. Need to get a zero gap as much as possible. All right, real quick before the battery dies, I was about to start welding this, and we decided instead of going like this, I'm gonna put it on like that. I gotta straighten that frame rail out. I'm gonna put a little heat to it, try to lay it a little flatter, this way the hitch fits a little better. And I'll clean the side rails up, and I'll put a bead across here, a bead up, and then we're going to probably put 2 grade 8 bolts through the side. I'm not a professional welder. With it sitting on top like that, it scares me just a little bit. I know the old one was welded on like that. This little welder we'll put a bead on, but I'm just I feel more comfortable, and I talked to my neighbor about it, and he feels the same. So we're gonna do it like that. I'm gonna get my acetylene torch out, see if I can't heat that metal up and flatten that rail out a little bit. Hopefully we can do it before this rain comes. Well, hurricane's catching up to us. All right, got delayed by some rain and lots and lots of rain. So we had to postpone, but when we're back on it, which doesn't reflect you at all watching because of editing. Speaking of editing and the channel, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that. Stick around for more projects. Stick around and check out my old projects. Give them thumbs up if you would. Leave me some comments. Tell me what you think. All right, we decided to take another route on this hitch. The old one, or coupler, whatever you want to call it, set up top and was welded on like that, as you saw in the previous frames. We decided we wanted to not trust my welding fully and mount it this way with 4 9/16 grade 8 bolts and nuts. So I've been fabbing that up a little bit, drilling the holes, and just kind of scribed out with a grinder where I need to clean the paint off, because I'm going to go back and weld around it. And if I bolt it down tight enough, I'm going to put a bead of weld up here. There's a pretty big gap. I just didn't, I'm not a professional welder. I'm not going to claim to be. I'm not claiming this to my neighbor either. So I told him, I said, look, I'd feel more comfortable if we had some bolts for backup, considering this thing pulls a tractor around. Don't want to get anybody hurt. So I'm going to weld it and bolt it down, and that would make me feel a lot better about the whole situation. The last thing I want to do is get somebody hurt or injured, or damage anybody's property. So I pulled him over here and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And he said, yeah, I think that's a good idea too. So this side of the frame rail was bent out, and I took acetylene torch and I did heat it up, and I was able to knock it back straight some, but it still got a pretty good curve to it. But I'll still be able to get a bead all there. I just have to build it up. I have to go slow and build it up just a little bit through these gaps. That's another reason, we wanted to throw some bolts in it. I even thought about throwing a bolt, staggering a bolt in like that, putting 4 bolts through it on the sides. But I think the welding in those 4 9/16 bolts will be fine. That's some pretty heavy duty bolts. If you're breaking those bolts, you're doing something. I mean, that's something like that would hold like an axle in, or like a heavy duty axle in, or whatever. I mean, it'll hold a lot of weight. So I'm gonna grind this up, prep it a little bit for welding. I had to throw some paint on what I had grinded before because it started raining, and this is just sitting on here. And the jack wouldn't slide through, so I had to grind this out a little bit. Had to arch this just a touch because it set back just a little bit with it sitting on top. So anyway, I squirted some paint on it right before it started raining. And all right, I'm gonna prep it up. Got my jack bolted down. I got my hardware situated. I got everything ground. I got everything acetone so I can weld. There's a little bit of residue from some paper towels I need to wipe off. So I'm going to lock this down with red Loctite, and lock washers as well. So these bolts hopefully won't ever loosen up. But I want to suggest checking them every time you take a load. All right, and then like I said, we're going to weld the best I can around the perimeter. So we'll have welding and bolted coupler. I think that'll be good to go. I clamped it down, it spread the sides out, so we're just going to weld it across the back side. Welded, grinded, because I suck at welding, and painted. She's done. I gotta extend these wires out about a foot. He wants me to extend them for him, so I'm gonna do that. That's it. Hit the like button, subscribe, stick around. Peace.